Welcome to the Just Jump In live stream and happy Friday. If you're out there, let me know. Let me know you can hear me. Last couple weeks had some different tech stuff, so it would be helpful to let me know you're out there. And let's see who's in there. Brad from Willow Creek, hello. Tom Split Rock, how's it going? Schuylkill River Valley John, welcome. Tim, welcome. And Scale KCS Baxter Springs branch, welcome. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. So, okay. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. So, I was hoping some of you might take the clickbait, and I don't know if I think my mother's going to be late. She's doing a miniature show this weekend, and so she said she's still going to stop in and say hi, but I think the show goes pretty late on the East Coast there, and she's deals in fine dollhouse miniatures, and out there in New Jersey, she's got a show. So, all right. So she was the only one that I actually heard from that went for the clickbait. Nobody's saying goodbye to the show or anything like that. I'm going to continue this as long as you all show up, and judging by my regulars, which I really appreciate, I'm going to be doing this for a while. I can't believe it's been over 6 months. So, what those pictures were, that was all my N scale stuff. If you're in the Twin Cities, you've heard about or know Big John Trains. He is one of the few that's actually opened up a brick and mortar store recently, and he's a regular at all the Twin Cities and Wisconsin and Iowa and all Kansas. He goes down to all the shows, and he has new and used stuff. He was gracious enough to give me a little money and take my whole N scale, or what I have left of my N scale equipment and buildings and knickknacks and accessories and everything. They're now going to be in his store, and I no longer have to deal with them, and that'll help me with the hobby a lot more now that I'm in HO scale. So today we'll talk about the flat car. We'll talk about why you see this car on screen, and where we're at in general. And so to get started, so the reason for this car, this Split Rock will recognize this car, and anybody else from any of our NMRA Skills Day events. I worked at the Skills Day on some weathering stuff with this car, and the NMRA for NMRA events will supply these shells so that you can learn to do things in the hobby on them. So if you look inside, that's what it really is. It's just kind of a white shell. I don't know if you can tell here, but it was primed and painted for the event with a blue, and I did some weathering and stuff on it. But I decided for my flat car, this was going to be the test car. We talked about last time color, looked at the pictures of the flat car, and I'll see if I can bring it up, but I actually found a flat car old enough that's used by New Jersey Transit with some kind of contraption on it over top. Now, for me to model that looks a little bit complicated. with the contraption that's on top of it. And I'll see if I can find that photo for you. But what we needed to do was have kind of a red color that's kind of lightened up over time. And I needed to practice decaling. So that's what I did here. You can see the stuff I did. Here's the backside where I was working with lightening it up. A lot more work on this side than this one. So I tried, I to lighten it up, I did try chalks because I had not chalks, pigments, because I have the Monroe models powders. So I tried the chalky white. To be honest, I put a lot on, and still so much of it came off and didn't really stick and give it the color it needed. So this is me really working hard to practice with an airbrush and being very gentle on the trigger on the airbrush, which is hard for me because I just don't do things that way. So this side came out pretty decent when I did this to get that kind of faded look. I think the best area is here. I don't know if it works. I don't know if you can see it on screen well. In person though, that's where the fading really worked, and really light. This came out a little bit dark. It still looks faded. It still looks okay. And then let's see if we have anybody I missed in here. So, hi, Mom. How did you do today? Did you? I know it was the first night, but how'd you do at the show? I told everybody you were going to be a little late in the show. Hi, Nora. Welcome to the live stream. Appreciate you hanging out or being forced to by my mom. Hey, Gopher Girl made it in. Hi, Gopher Girl. So thank you, Brad. I appreciate it. Now, what you did for me is you made me try something new. So you recommended the XF series, the acrylic paint from Tamiya. And so I used flat red XF7. And I'm still a little worried about it. It's even though it's flat, it feels bright to me. But I will tell you that it was a very different experience using Tamiya acrylic paint than Vallejo paint. I've gotten used to Vallejo paints and how they go, and mostly the Model Air is what I use, but I use some of the other ones that they have. One of my favorite is a what they call a rotten white. That's not a model that needs more thinning and everything. I will tell you that I really enjoyed using this paint. It flowed differently in the airbrush, if you could believe it. I thinned it 50-50 with Tamiya thinner, which I use on all of my other paints anyway. It did a weird thing where it got paint all over the inside the nozzle and everything. That was a little different. I don't know if that was user error or not, but it's the only time I saw it. But this is a good suggestion, so I appreciate that, Brad. So then we move over here. I did a lot less with the weathering, and I used some of my spare decals to try and do this. Now the D was already ripped, so I was using, because I have just a spare of I think they're Gothic that I bought a long time ago and tried on something else, and then I just cut out what I wanted to do is cut out consecutive decals together to see if I can get them on here and get them to look good. Now I will tell you that from a distance. So if you're using the 3-foot rule, I think these look decent. I think I got this nicely around the rivets. There are rivets that go through the 5, the 7, and the 9. But as you move closer to it, even after it's cured and even after several layers of gloss coat, if you get up close, you definitely can see it. And this gets blurry all the time when I do that. Let me see if I can kind of do it like that. You definitely can see the rivets. I think over time it's actually gotten better and settled in nicely. But now in that shot, you can definitely see the cutout of the N and the A there. So if anybody has any suggestions on that, that would be helpful. If you have any suggestions on how to get them working. Yep, I was very mad that I missed that clinic, but today was the last day. So I work with a benefits administration company, a third-party company. So basically, if your company offers benefits, sometimes they outsource that work to somebody else, and that's what my company does. And so one of my clients is a large client, very busy during this time, just had their last day of their open enrollment, so things will settle down. But that got me going late yesterday, and I missed it. And yeah, it would have helped. Definitely would have helped there, but if we're using the 3-foot rule, this one's not going to look too bad. But again, that was so it paid to have this. So if you don't have the luxury of having a car from an event or something like that, if you have a local hobby shop or a swap meet and you can get cheap cars for $1, $2, $3, $4, or $5, grab them just for practicing things. It doesn't matter what they are, just get them so that you can beat them up however you want. It's really helpful to do. We're lucky to have a hobby shop in the area in the Twin Cities that does have kind of a back room. It has they have shelves, like engine shelves you can buy real cheap, and they have boxes of cars that you can buy real cheap if you want. And then we have plenty of swap meets around where you can find cars cheap. I'm just checking the chat here. So, paint leveler. I'm not sure what that is. So this is the thinner split rock. I've been using this with all my paints, my Tamiya paints. I use it with the craft paints. Here's the craft paint white that I used, and I thin with this. I've been doing that forever. And you can tell I've been doing it forever because you can't get thinner for that price anymore. So I use that. I've used distilled water before. I've tried the alcohol thing. That's not really worked. Distilled waters worked. The thinner works. I just went with the thinner with this one. I didn't want to mess around. I just wanted to see what I could get out of it. But I think this is a little bit overdone. I just like the highlights I got here. The other thing was just remembering to do which coats to do on these things. So the next thing I would like to practice on here is getting getting another coat of a matte finish. So what I have this. I have all three. I have matte, satin, and and a gloss coat of this, but I still have this Krylon left, and so I use the Krylon, and I'll show you what happened when I went and worked on the flat car, thinking I was all great and everything at it. I did go ahead and attack the flat car, and we'll show you what happened there in just a minute. So we talked about varnish before. I don't know that I could handle varnish because you have to wait so long, and I mean that's just personal preference. But I certainly could try it. Hey Ken, welcome to the show. Great to have you in here. Missed out last night. Thank you for looking for the miniature train. So I was talking to my mother about maybe making a scene with a toy train or a model train for her booth, or just to show off like a room box. So what's really popular in dollhouse miniatures are room boxes, which are basically scenes that they're like dioramas in boxes. So I was talking to her about different things. I thought it would be cool to get the scales are slightly different. But I thought it would be cool to get something like a G scale box car and have little kids sitting in there playing with the train that's scaled to dollhouse miniatures. So dollhouse miniatures are 1 to 12 or 1 to 24. So they call it 1 to 24 is half scale and 1 to 12 is dollhouse scale. And then, doing a scene like that, I've been talking about that for years and obviously haven't done anything with it, but appreciate you looking for it. So the yellow cap, so the yellow cap is it called acrylic thinner? What is the yellow cap one called? Is that that's a lacquer thinner? Potentially. Or is that? Well, they have a yellow cap that ends up being a yellow paint. So looking in here, okay, so some Italian site I found it. So they have a lacquer thinner. So what's the difference? What would be the difference? What would you get from a lacquer thinner on acrylic paint that's different from an acrylic thinner on an acrylic paint? Let's see if I missed anything in here. Isopropyl alcohol has a lot of uses in the hobby, so you can't have enough of it, I'm sure. But you gotta watch which kind of IPA is in a glass, because an IPA here in the U.S. is a little different. Makes the acrylic flow easier. Gotcha. Okay. I will definitely have to try that. You guys are going to bankrupt me with all your ideas, but I can always use the ideas. Okay. So let's do the reveal. And we'll do the reveal on one side first and the bottom, and then we'll show you where I got to. So here it is. Here I did my technique. I redid the top here because that was showing through, and I'm a little afraid to see what kind of paint I got um, on the wood, but we'll find out. Um, but here you go. Like I said, to me, it looks a little bit bright as a red, and you can see some areas. I was because this was the model that I was finalizing. I was very light on the white paint. It probably could use a bit more. You can only see it in a few spots on this side. We'll take a look on the other side, but the other thing I did on here is I just sprayed a little bit in here on the bottom just to take a look at it too. But here's the bottom. Let's see here. We'll just show you one. We'll kind of come across. So everything got paint. The ends got painted. Everything got painted underneath. Even the chain, which now when I was looking at the pictures, everything on the side, underneath on the side and stuff looked like it was painted. On the ends was all painted the same color. So I went with that. Let's see if you can see this. We're gonna have to bring this out a little bit. That's still blurry. But again, painted the ends as well. Got a little bit heavy on the white there. So let's first talk about the stirrup bit. So I went with the idea of using the E6000. Now, my bottle my tube, which is about a third fell full, turns out it dried out and nothing was coming out no matter what I did. So I went out and was looking at E6000 in the store and was going to buy it. I was hoping for a really small tube. Couldn't find a small tube. Then I looked at this and compared it to the regular E6000 tube. And the one difference with the premium, well, two differences. One is the price. It was double the price. But what it said on here, different from the regular E6000, is it called out that it was good with that it was for plastics as well. So I believed it, paid the double on it, and don't want to manipulate it too much, but it's really soft on it. So it's on both of them. It's kind of soft. On this one over here, this is solid, but this end is not. So I might just use the CA again on that one. This one is very soft and moving, and so I think I'm going to re-CA that one and maybe CA the end of that one. And I'm going to try and be done with it. The problem is I keep handling this and I'm just not soft enough with the hands. So yes, yes, wow, the car is painted. It's painted. It's very red. I'm wondering if I could, just for comfort level, I feel like the bottom could be darkened a bit. But let's talk about decals. So on this side too, you could tell a little bit that I did get it. Again, I was really kind of scared of getting this too weathered and too white. But I did a little bit of it. And then it was time for the decals. And even with everything sealed, with just a slight touch of, you can see the T, that's actually supposed to be a T. And of course, let's see if it's better if I do that. You can see where the paint chipped. So since I'm going to be submitting this for merit award, I'm probably going to have to take these um, letters up and repaint that whole thing and then redo the lettering again. Um, with a shaky hand, it's harder to keep decal. And when you touch a decal, just trying to move it slightly. I try to do the edges with a brush. So I used both a brush and a micro brush to try and move them as much as possible to try and stay away from the tweezers, because the tweezers is what was doing that. And so getting them to stay in place was pretty difficult with my shake. But I got it started. Then I started to work on over here the smaller decals, the weight limit decals, and I totally messed those up. Too much movement on them, and you could see I barely touched this, and these are a pain in the butt, these things, just to get them glued together and then glued on. And so I'm gonna have to pull this off, and then glue the channel together. I don't know if you could see this, but this is the tiny little channel, and that's a pain in the butt to glue together with just those tiny little edges. And I'm gonna have to redo that one and get back to the decaling on it. And then we'll look at potentially doing a little bit more of the weathering around the decals to get it a little bit more faded of a red. This is not faded enough to me. Again, I kind of that's a little too faded. That would be like a really raw spot. I would rather have it faded something like this. So that's what I'd be going for, that area. Maybe this seems a little bit more faded. I think the sweet spot's somewhere in this area. Now the light, let's see if I change the light here. Not, let's see if I get it a little too bright, but so that's a little bit better. So you really can see the fade spot there with this light changed up a little bit. And if I compare the two, look at how red that still is. I barely got any fade on it at all. So we'll need to do that. But that's where I got to. So more work to do on this. A lot more work to do on this, but it's essentially done. Once I get the decals on and the painting is completed, it's putting the couplers back in the wheels on, and then figuring out a something for weight on it to put some kind of load on it that will be relevant to the northeast quarter. So let me just see if I can find it. So I actually found, I was looking too hard, and on railroadpictures.net, picturearchives.net, I actually found a bunch of now here's the thing with Railroad Picture Archives. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. And right now, of course, now that I'm live, going there and I didn't save a picture, it is not working. Let's see if I have a different link to it. Of course, it's not working today. I think it was where it was. Um, I don't think I saved a picture of it either, which would have been the really like smart thing to do, probably. Nope, I did not. So we won't be able to see that, unfortunately. Um, yes, so Split Rock, I am gloss coating before the decals, and I don't know if my touch was just too hard with it. But when I was I initially grab it with the tweezers and put it on here, and I was wondering if it wasn't a spot that gloss coated well, or not really sure. But I did the gloss coat, and I actually put the decals on, and I've gloss coated it since. Um, but I'll still work with it and do it. So I've been following the steps I was supposed to follow because Ken confirmed last week that he does it where he gloss coats it, puts the decals on, and gloss coats it again. So again, trying to follow all the rules because I want this to be kind of final. And I did that here. So I did that here as well. This one obviously went way better. What's really interesting now after several days, this actually does, it even looks better up close. You can still see it, but you've got to angle it. But I really like how this one, if you let it go and you don't manipulate it much, it does do what it's supposed to do, and you can see it gets around the rivets as well, and so it looks good. So um, so we have to definitely have to work on that again. I gloss coated the side um, of it. I gloss coated the side because I knew that I was gonna hit it, or I didn't know exactly where I was gonna hit it. Plus, the other thing is I didn't know if I was gonna do decals or if I'm gonna paint with stencil the yellow striping. So on the flat car that I'm modeling, there are like safety stripes on it. And so would be small safety stripes as they go. So the whole car should be gloss coated for that, or the whole side should be gloss coated for that, I think. So let me see here. Let's see if I can get it on a different browser at all. Or if it's just not working today, and I'll probably give up on it. Yeah, it's not working. No, well, so there's definitely something that I could have done with this had I found it first. The flat car is more modern that I'm modeling off of, so it's like flat all the way across. It's a little bit different. The air reservoir is like, you can see it. It's on the side. But the one that I wanted to show you, and so I'll make sure I have a picture of it next week, has this must have been a flat car from the same era. It has wood planks on the top of it. It has the same curves to it, but then it has this weird structure, and to it as well. So, see if I can. Every time I look up for it, I know these things bother me, so that's why I keep going back to it, even though I should move on. But let's see if it comes. Yep. All right, Dan, you got to move on. Not that I have much else tonight. Oh, I was gonna show you something for those of you. So the biggest complaint we hear in the NMRA around the achievement program seems to be the paperwork. Now, there's help out there from your divisions, your regions. There's also even a Facebook group that can help those that are interested. And so I kind of want to show you the setup of some of the paperwork. So we're going to try and share this. Bear with me for a second. See if I can. Not sure if it's going to let me do that, but possibly. All right. Okay. So paperwork. So I think the biggest thing is people don't know what they're supposed to put in the paperwork. I think that's the scary part for people. They do all this work. They don't want to lose points, or they don't want to gain points. They don't want to lose out on the opportunity to gain points when a merit award is involved, or just having it reviewed to see if it qualifies as rolling stock or any other part of the hobby. So that might be it too. It might be running slow. It's definitely a possibility. So the top of this has address and contact information, so I'm not necessarily showing you this, but the next page, this is for cars. So you need at least 4 different car types. One of them has to be a passenger car. We all know that I'm going to have more passenger cars than I'm going to have other stuff, but we'll have the different car types. Basically, you list them here. You say if they're scratch built. And this is actually a piece of advice that I'll need for the comic car from the folks out there in my division, Split Rock, Ken. So the comic car that I've been working on is a modified shell and underframe. So I'm assuming that's not considered scratch built, and it'll be considered super detailed. But maybe you can tell me that. On the other hand, this flat car for sure is scratch built. It only has a couple of commercial parts. So you list up your cars here. Then you'll have whoever is verifying the information will sign off on it. They'll say if there's a merit award in all of this, who's approved by, and then basically on this first page, there I go. Everybody can go now and come back to the video and get all my personal information and go after my bank account, which is pretty zeroed out. Here it tells you the basics of what you need. I always say go to the website, and you can find all the details of what you need at the base minimum to get your cars to qualify. So, but here it is. Attach a description of each of the models, identify the scratch built features to it, list all the commercial parts, list the materials used, and then verify if it's merit award, and that comes later. So the first thing I did was I listed out not on when it said materials, I took it literally. So, you know, I listed out styrene. Well, I also listed out that I used this tweezers and that tweezers. So, getting some advice, that's not what was needed. So I'm going to show you what I did, and those of you in here that are MMRs or have done evaluations for NMRA events can tell me if I'm off my rocker on this. But essentially, here's the flat car paperwork. That's not finished because I haven't finished the car, but I gave a background that this is based on a presentation through the Lone Star region, and I gave that information, and I said what I'm trying to model, which was the maintenance of way car, flat car for New Jersey Transit. Listed out the commercial parts here that were used, listed out the raw materials. I still have to fill in the part numbers, but these are all of the different types of evergreen styrene. I use some plastic styrene. I use some wire from Tichy Train Group and so on, and listed out. And so this is just the material. This is what I call the raw materials. So I'm not listing out all the tools or everything. But then I go through the story of building the flat car, and I broke it up into parts, and I supplied pictures as well. And I don't know if this is over pictured, under pictured. I don't know if this is the setup that we exactly need, but I went through my experience with the stake pockets, the decking. Here's all the pictures from that I've showed you, all of you, of all the steps I took with the decking, going through and doing the brakes and stuff here. Sorry for hitting the camera there. Showing the close-up of my favorite thing, the stirrups, and some of the detail work with the brass wire, painting it as well. So I'll have pictures of me painting it, and then finishing it up. So, Split Rock, you both can tell me, okay. So Split Rock says nicely done. So I hopefully when you evaluate it, Split Rock, you'll actually read all that work. So to give you an idea, this took 3 hours, and that included me listing out all the stuff that I wasn't going to include, and then typing it up after I kind of wrote it out old school in a journal, and then typed it all up. And it took 3 hours. Now, I spent one night doing it for 3 hours versus you could break it up. I mean, you could sit there and watch TV and do this, and half hour later you watched a show and you've gotten a half hour work done on it. So it's not necessarily going to be a fast process doing this, but it really isn't hard, I don't think, to give us to list things that you used and then give a story of how you did it and give some evidence of where you went from the start to the finish. So that's what I did, and so this paperwork will continue. Hopefully both of these cars will be ready for evaluation in May at the modelers retreat, which is our version of an RPM. And so, I mean, the flat car will certainly be there and ready to go. I hope that the cab car will be ready to go, and I've stalled on that. But so let's get out of this little thing. And I hate when I do this. You don't need to see that there, but anyway, I'm stopping and sharing that. Okay, so thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. So that's where we are. That's my update. I did get some work done. Been very tired. I'll be very tired tonight. We have another date night hockey game to watch after this. I think it's I forget who we're playing tonight, Gopher Girl, but we'll be watching that tonight. But work at our busiest time, I've been pretty tired, but I got in some work, so I'm happy about that. And then we'll move on from there. So with the money that I did get from Big John, has two purposes. So one is to hey John, thank you for stopping by. Have a great night. Appreciate you stopping in. And we'll see you on the weekend. That's right. So it's Wisconsin we're playing tonight. So with that money, I could just put it all towards the hobby specifically. That would definitely be able to afford a decoder for the lights for the cab car and everything. But I'm going to break it up a little because I do want to make sure that I go to the regional convention in 2025. So I'm going to save up some of that money for that. And I've made the decision that I'm going to dump the rest of it instead of being frugal like I normally am. I am going to dump the rest of it into a 3D printer. And it'll be a filament 3D printer at this point because we just don't have a good space for it where there's any good ventilation. And with a filament printer, you need that. You also need a lot of desk space because you need a curing station and a washing station, and you need to be able to get rid of the bad chemicals and everything. Where a filament printer, you don't need as good ventilation as you would need with a resin printer. And a resin printer really is all about the detail. It's going to always be more detailed than a filament printer for anything I could afford, for sure. But I see the filament printer will be good for parts. I do want a larger bed printer because I do want to attempt to build an 85-foot car, which are the passenger cars. So let's see. Can barely get this on camera, but here's your 56-foot, 55.5-foot car, and there's your 85-foot car. This, I think it comes out to somewhere around 296 millimeters, which is what's used in the 3D printing area for, print space. Most of the 3D printers, I might be able to do this on a print bed diagonally. Most of the 3D printers are a little bit smaller print bed, like 250 millimeters, 225 millimeters. But then there's a series of printers that, are 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters. That's length and width. They're also bigger in height. I don't need that for this hobby unless I was building some kind of gigantic skyscraper, which maybe I can someday. So, I just would like to see, I feel comfortable enough to build these small parts. I would much rather design them and print them out instead of, instead of just styrene. I would like the look better. Yes, yep. Build an 85-foot car with a 3D printer, not a 1-to-1. So yeah, you could build it at an angle. So one of the takeaways from a family member of mine who has a printer, and I think his bed is, I don't know, 225 by 225. Um, One of his takeaways is when his printer, when you get out towards the edges of the printer and it's going around, he has more build fails or print fails because the outsides when they're at the corners at the edges. Um, some of the printers actually use the edges to release filament out of the tubing and things like that. And his when he's done it a number of times, and he said that he gets a lot of fails that way. So if I actually want to try it, and there are printers out there that are less than $500 that are pretty decent. And that's where I'm looking at. I couldn't spend more than 500 on it if I want to go to go to events and things. I already owe the paymaster is gonna break my kneecaps if I don't pay him the $5 I owe for the skills day. Um, so yeah, and so I've talked a lot with Damien. Damien is one of our 3D experts, and Colin as well. I've talked to both of them, and they've been very helpful. And both of them are N scale, so they could build an 85-foot car easily on a small print bed. But um, you know, I personally, just because of detail, would love a resin printer, but we would have to move to a new house or a different house where it would just be able to fit in, and we can ventilate and keep it away from everyone else. Gopher Girl gets migraines off of anything, any smells, things like that. So even I have to be really careful with glues and things now. Um, I just don't think it would be, a good idea for it to expose in any way to any other parts of the house. And so that's why I'm staying away from the resin. And I've really gotten somewhat comfortable with, I'm still a novice at it, but using the program Onshape to do CAD drawings. So I mean, I actually did a CAD drawing of the base, the underframe, just the underframe, and then I started kind of building out some of the parts. And I haven't finished doing that, but I mean, some of these parts are basic shapes anyway, and I would love to get more detail on things like this. Um, I just have like hinges on these. These actually should have the prototype has on some of these boxes and raised X shape to the metal. And so I'd like to be able to model that kind of thing. And with 3D, with a CAD program, I can do that um, and do that in better detail. The sander was subject to my cutting skill. Um, I think I could design that. I could design that better and have a better looking sanding container. Um, and so and so they're just parts that if my dexterity is not there with these and getting these to glue and have, but I'm hoping that I don't know that I could actually build, and I'm not even showing you. I don't know that I could 3D print something that small, even with the smallest nozzle. It may be too difficult to do something that small. Um, but I think I can certainly do the frames, and it's all about the design. And I've been practicing on it, and that's kind of what interests me. And if I can help other people with 3D printing, I certainly would. especially in our division, if they wanted a part or something that they couldn't find, and if I could design it and help them with it, I certainly would like to do that. But yeah, so um, most people will say Split Rock that Tinkercad is the most simple is the simplest. Um, um, hey Greg, welcome in. I don't think I've seen you in here. But maybe you've been in the background before. Um, and he hasn't popped up on chat, but if nobody's checked out Greg Cassidy's workshop on YouTube, you need to do it. He's a veteran um, of New Tracks Modeling. He's been part of that show and been a contributor to that show for a couple of years now, and I've gotten to know him there. You're in the Maryland area, Greg, I believe. He also does a neat, not only is he a fantastic modeler, he does a neat thing during the holidays. So this is kind of his time. And I don't remember what it's called, but he does holiday displays like he does his model railroading. It's fantastic. And so appreciate you being here. I've learned a lot from you. I really want to spend the money at some point on some of those Copic markers to try the stonework like you did, like you showed. Just love your work. So everybody should check them out. Gopher Girl, if you could go find his YouTube channel and share that link, I would appreciate it. So anyway, 3D printing. So Tinkercad is probably, most people would say it's the easiest, and yes, it's free. The Tinkercad, what you can do with that is you can build with shapes that are already there. So that's what makes that one easier. I actually, without measurements, so it's not scaled to anything, I was learning how to make, I designed a house with doors and windows because I want to learn how to do doors and windows. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. I do strive to, get to the point where I'm at your, sometime at your point. But I appreciate that. Every once in a while, my picture of my general store pops up on their promos, and I kind of get a kick out of that because so many people have done such great work on there. Let me know, Gopher Girl, if you can't find his channel, I'll grab it and I'll see if I can find it. But there are so many different programs out there. And the basics are the basics with those programs. If you're able to learn the basics, you can start off on another more complicated program and then learn the tweaks of that program and the differences in that program. Thank you. Appreciate it. Gopher Girl. And so so you could, if you could get used to how CAD programs work, you could work with more and more advanced programs. The one I learned about and really started to try to focus on, that gave me the most flexibility with the most basic instruction, is one called Onshape. That's also free. If you're worried about your designs being used, I think you have to have a paid account to make sure that you keep them not public. So all of my stuff on Onshape is public, so people can use it, they can modify it and all those things. And I really don't care. I don't plan on making any money off of it. So because everything I'd done on there was a test. On one of my earlier shows, I showed off the stationary tank car, which had the supports and the underside of the tank car printed for me from my family member Michael. Um, that was all done in Onshape. Um, so I would say just go to onshape.com, check that one out too. That's not, if you want to get into stuff that's really complicated, you're talking a program like Blender's really complicated and I haven't gotten into. I have Split Rock, I have Windows. I don't have a Mac. I've never had a Mac. I used them in school many, many years ago, but don't have a Mac. Macs are really good graphically, and they have some positives to them, but always stuck with the Windows stuff. Um, so I don't know if there's one program that works better on a Mac than Windows, but definitely if you're new to it, check out Tinkercad to get started, to get the idea of kind of how it works and things like that. And then I would check out Onshape. There is a build along series on building a girder bridge on Onshape, using Onshape from New Tracks Modeling that a guy named Earl um, did, and that's what got me into Onshape. And so to start with, I just followed him and I followed what he did, and I didn't really care about exactly what he was doing. And then I went back and watched it to try and get an idea of what he was doing and get an idea of how the program worked and everything. Let me see if I can pull up what that looks like. Let's see. And I'm not touting this one just because, because it's better or anything. I just think that uh, uh, folks can use it. I gotta remember my password. That's always been a problem. See if that one gets me in. Okay. So let me see if let's do this. Come on. I'll split screen this for my benefit here. But let's go ahead and share. Let me share with you what Onshape looks like. So this is kind of my home base for Onshape and the things that I've been trying. And this one right here is, let's make sure. This is the girder bridge. And so I followed along again, and it was a several part series in building this, and I haven't been able to get this printed for me yet. But if I get the printer, I will. And you can see all this stuff that's on the left side, and these are all the commands. And what's really nice about this one, this program, is you can go back in and say you want to do something here with this one. You can do and alter this and work with this command here after all this has already been done, and you can see all these lines for all the different things. And transform, extrude, sketch, all of these things that you do, you kind of have to learn how to do it. But just like my other stuff, if you go into Onshape and you sign up and give your email address, that's it, and you're in there looking and you search DMRJ, you can find my stuff in there. So let's go back to So this is where I designed those pieces for the cab car that didn't fit right. So we know they didn't fit right. Here I am trying to make a keg. Have no clue what I'm doing. This one I'm interested in getting printed, and Michael hasn't been able to print this one yet. See if he could, but I built a depot off of a plan from just I picked up off the internet. So you can see the different parts to it and all the different things that I had to do with all the doors and windows and all the shapes and building the stairs and the deck and everything. So it takes some time to learn, but you can learn it. Here I'm making a Lego separator tray for Gopher Girl and her Lego habit. So when she's building, she wants a tray to separate out different bricks based on the bags you open in each set. And she's always struggled with where to put those and finding pieces and things like that. So hopefully I can print this for her at some point. And this is a pretty wide thing too. So and so again, it just takes dedicated time to learn this stuff. But you know, and I say it's not hard to learn. It might be hard to learn for some people. It depends on your acuity for this kind of thing. I can't do any of the math in here, so math is a terrible thing to me. I can do basic math. I can tell you I have $0 in my bank account, that sort of thing. But if you find a way to learn, if you find the right tutorials, if you find the right people to help you out, you can definitely learn 3D printing. And then let's just go to, because you asked about basic. Well, that's not going to help. Let's try this again. Let's see if I can get this to work. And I don't know why it's stuck on that. So let's try this again. Stop. And I don't know why it popped off of there. So this is your Tinkercad website, tinkercad.com, Tinker, CAD, and you can start tinkering. And I don't know, let's see here. See if I can get in without having to sign up or sign on. You used to be able to just go in and try. So let me try this again. Start tinkering. Let's see. I don't even know if I remember how I got in here. Let's see if this remembers me. Come on. Apparently I agreed to terms that I didn't even read. Okay, so it did. So let's reshare this. All right. So here's some things I went to try and design, and I believe I did. So this one I did. Look at it, it was 3 years ago I went to do this. And let's see, 3D. Okay, this is I haven't been in Tinkercad in forever. But what I was trying to do with this, I don't like, I like learning with stuff that's going to keep me kind of interested. But, so it has to be something I'm working on. Let's see here. So With these, I was afraid of knocking these over and losing the powder and making myself all that color and everything. So I went in to try and build this, and I think I don't remember if it was Damien I had look at this. But he immediately railed off all the things I needed to do to improve this to make this work. But the idea was to be able to set this in and make it so it wouldn't fall over. So you think about projects that you really want to do so that you're not stuck doing somebody else's project, and then go off. I mean, you can do their project, but once you get a hang of how to do something, by doing your own project, you're going to learn more about those as you do those items, you're going to learn more about it. And then so I don't know what the title thing is going on here. I don't know if somebody tinkered with it or whatever that is. But this is what I was talking about in Tinkercad, that I was using shapes to do. So you could take a column or a cylinder and make a column. And then I was learning how to do the windows and doors and things. And I really struggled with this roof part that I was trying to do. So let's see if it lets me go in. And so if you do create, you can do all kinds. So there are other things you can do, but you come in and you do create, and there's all kinds of tools you have your build space here. You can rotate like I could in the other one that I did. Or the Onshape has the same kind of rotations. And then you can manipulate it, and you have your plane, and Onshape has planes, but so you can start with shapes here, and you have basic shapes. You have all kinds of things, creatures and characters. So these are all pre-built things that you can start with if you wanted to start with the pre-built shapes. And then you just start working with them, and basic shapes is what I started with. So for instance, there's your column. Now you have all kinds of things that you can manipulate them. You can create a hole, to create a hole in here. So let's see, you can manipulate these, bevel it. So now it has, so these are much easier to use when you have sliders and things and preset things that you can do. Whereas something like Onshape, you don't have that opportunity the same way, where you have to do a little bit more design work. So that's what interests me about 3D printing, and I want it to help enhance the hobby. So like I said, for my own enjoyment and not for the AP program, I would rather have these parts built, because I know my dexterity is not good, and I know that I could get better at these things over time and stuff. And this looks pretty decent, I think, if you're staring at it. These wires look like wires, that are being fed through. They look like cables or wires. This actually, two pieces are broken from handling this, but this looks like a complicated little system of some kind. This looks really basic, but it looks important going through the middle. Doesn't look too bad there. Whatever this greebly I used here to enhance this was good. That looks like it's an important piece to make the train go. That's all good and great. I don't think I'll be a master artist when it comes to creating by hand. But could I be a master artist by creating and making something look like it should or look new and different, or and that piece of the art, yeah, I have the opportunity to do that. um this this um this cow catcher, um bumper, whatever you want to call that, to me looks absolutely terrible. It looks very similar to what the part really looks like. um but I think I could do better by designing it in 3D, and it would help if I showed you that. I think it would look better if I could design it that way. And I think that's where I think I would thrive more. And I think I would be happier doing that. And that's really why I want to do, um, why I would like to do, why I'd like a 3D printer. And if I break a spatula, I don't get in trouble with Gopher Girl. I just print out a new spatula, you know. So it has its positives. In a number of ways. Thank you. I appreciate it, Greg. So, our internet is based on Gopher Girl's gaming needs. She's a gamer, she's up all night gaming, and you need a lot of internet power. And so I appreciate that. I'm glad it's coming through nicely. Um, and Now, if I could just get a camera someday that's even clearer than this one, round out the whole live stream. But yeah, it's really neat being able to do that stuff. I always tell her she should go online when she's gaming and broadcast. There's money to be made on that world. There's no money to be made uh, in the model railroad world, but definitely, if I could get her to be a gamer online, broadcasting her stuff, broadcasting her gameplay, she'd make some money. She'd have sponsors, she'd have followers, crazy people, all kinds of stuff. Um, so, so yeah. And so that is what I've been working on. That's future plans as well. I'm super happy that that I'm getting as far as I am. This project's really proven that both projects, but the doing the flat car and doing it for a third time and getting as far as I have gotten has been really inspiring, and I have to thank the NMRA and the Achievement Program for that. I haven't achieved anything yet, really, but I have achieved getting further in the project than I ever have before. And then for stepping up and actually doing the detailing of, going from out of the box, kind of go, although I did add the center beam, but going from out of the box of this, to something like this, as not, even though some of the parts aren't as nice, just being able to do that has been all part of the NMRA's dastardly plan, and come to the dark side of model railroading. But have to, I appreciate it, and um, you know, um, and I appreciate the camaraderie. I appreciate the advice. I need lots of advice. I need to listen to the experts, and I do listen to the experts. As Gopher Girl will tell you, I don't listen to many people, but I do listen to the experts. You know, but yeah. So all I can say to people is, um, just jump in and try it. Try something you've never tried before. You may like it, you may not, and then you move on and you try something new. And then once you've found something you like, you really jump in and give all your money away to the hobby. So. Yeah, yeah, Greg, it is a long journey. I would like to spend more time than I'm spending on getting through this. And, I talked about it on a previous live stream. What I need to do is I really need to get into the art. And Split Rock said this is something that's really helped him is to be able to say, okay, I'm letting the, you know, I'm letting the varnish dry on this guy. So I should be working on getting this guy to look something like this. And moving on from project to project. I've had that mental block saying that I can't necessarily move on because I'm focused on this. There's no reason I can't work on a bunch of other projects. I think when you get that down, there's another Ken in our division. I think he got 4 certificates at once, and that means um, that he was working on multiple things, and they got evaluated together, and he got like in one night he was presented with 4 certificates, and then not too long after that he had enough certificates, and so he did it in time where he had time to dedicate to it, and he was, I'm sure, working on multiple projects at once. So yeah. Um, I just wish I was at the point, and I can wish all I want. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but I wish I was at the point where I could dedicate my time to this. You know, when I was being mentored by our division achievement program czar, I don't know if that's the right word. Um, he was showing me everything he was working on, but he was working on the cars 4 hours a day, and he put out 4 cars in no time. Um, so, um, yeah, and I wouldn't say I'm in a rush. I would just like to be able to spend more time on it. So, right. So I know he didn't start at one time, but when he got moving for sure. Um, and I've just found this to be I found this to be a lot of fun, and I find the building part of the hobby to be a lot of fun. And so I've stalled, most of our division are at the point where they really enjoy the operation piece. And that's something I want to dive into more. I'm hoping for more. I know we have more of our operations retreats planned. I'll likely do that. I know that's Split Rock's been trying to get me over to his house to operate on his um, layout. But I find that enjoying at least the time I can to dedicate to building is the enjoyable part right now. And while you're so Split Rock, sometimes I do my gluing and stuff while I'm at work, since my desk is next to this desk, my work desk for the hobby, and my work desk for work are next to each other. And there's possibility people from work are listening, so they may hear this. But there have been times where maybe I'm a little frustrated with work, and I take a minute to glue something over on the hobby desk. So Split Rock, my goal was to build 4 passenger cars at once, and I started that process. That's why they all have the center beam, um, all 4 of the under frames. Um, but I found that because I hadn't done anything yet, I wanted to build through it and see if I could do it and feel comfortable doing it. Now I should be able to be like build reservoirs for 3 cars, build any of these parts for 3 cars at it, and get those done faster. So um, I think I could do that. Um, you know, so and I forget. Let me go here and so So at least 4 of the 8 cars need to be scratch built. So I don't know if you answered the question um, earlier, but because I'm using these underframes and the car bodies and modifying them, those are the ones that have to be super detailed, correct? So I have to go with something like this where I'm building the whole car to be scratch built. Um, so so these are going to be super detailed. If that's correct, these are just going to be super detailed, and I'm still going to have to build them. So maintenance away cars, things like that, um, are going to have to be scratch built. And so I have to take a deeper dive if the website works better, the Railroad Archives, because I did find that they have on there, they have a number of um, freight cars for a number, not freight cars, but different like maintenance away and other cars pictures that I could use for New Jersey Transit. Or even I'm sure I could find some Amtrak on there and do some scratch building. Um, Eventually, when I get if I get to building motive power, um, one of the things that I will try to build is a catenary maintenance vehicle. So I've seen one that looks like it was one that New Jersey Transit had used, but along the Northeast Corridor, I believe Amtrak owns that, and they have one of those. And to me, it's really just a big box with details. So if I can, build a frame and then build a big box and make it look something like that and put an engine in it and everything. I don't think that's far-fetched to be able to do something like that. The other thing I was thinking about was a high rail Jeep or truck, but I'll have to get the specifics on how you fit an engine into something that small. Um, and see if we can do something like that. But yeah, so I appreciate the discussion. We went quite a long time tonight, but it is time for that date night, and so I want to say for everybody to again just jump in and try something. And if you like it, great. If you don't, try something different. And I think that um, I think you'll come out feeling better and have something again to drain your wallet like the model railroading drains mine. But everybody have a fantastic night.